there's another part which kind of leads into the next speaker, who Ali will introduce in a minute. But and this is really about we discussed refugees and kind of that's been a common theme that's run through the meeting as well, and it's something that you can't really ignore. And I was lucky enough to travel with Agnes through Turkey and on to Lebanon a few months ago, and we met up with our Lebanese partners, Malik and Lena, who may be here. Woo! And they very kindly helped look after us, and also some permaculture groups, or a permaculture group that we'd funded through the Slush Fund. And I was able to go into a Syrian refugee camp. In Lebanon, the population is something like 4 million Lebanese live in Lebanon. Over the last however many years, I think in the 50s, the Palestinian refugees started to arrive. So that's a million Palestinian refugees then live in Lebanon. And in the last 5 years, then probably upwards of 2 million Syrian refugees have then arrived. So that makes it almost 50% of their population are refugees. Now that's a huge burden on a country, and it's also a real testament to the people there, because they have accepted them with relatively little violence and with relatively little problems. I'm not saying it's all smooth sailing, but it's it really is quite incredible. And I was really inspired by this. I went into a camp, and they've been there for 4 years. I took some footage, so I took a leaf out of Hal's book and thought, maybe I can document this. And I've done a really bad job of it, but you will be able to see some of that footage. And there's 3 fragrances which are based on that trip. One is Manouche Zaatar, which is it's a breakfast dish. It's a flatbread with spices, so thyme, I think sage sometimes, sesame, and it's really delicious and aromatic. And the whole of Lebanon, there's a lot of aromatic plants, and that really, and the food element, for me, I like eating, and that sharing food and that culture, I think, helped to bridge a lot of gaps, actually. So there's Manouche Zaatar. There's also Cardamom coffee. So when we went to the camp, there was a family who'd been living in a tent for 4 years, and they were very kind, and they gave us a cup of coffee. I don't like coffee normally, but this is very, very strong, and it had a very beautiful taste of cardamom. So there's a cardamom coffee. And then if you move on, you end up in the refugee camp, and you can see some of the footage I shot. And I've created a fragrance there called Road From Damascus. In Beirut, a lot of the Syrian refugees and people leaving Syria are using Beirut airport as their airport, and there's a road that leads directly out of Damascus and into Beirut. It's also quite nice because, having been to Turkey at the same time, our Turkish rose supplier actually is employing nearly 200 refugees who are helping pick his roses. That rose is the rose Damascena. So that's the Damascus rose. It originated in Damascus and then spread out across the Middle East. So it's quite nice. So the fragrance is really based around Damascus rose and people coming out of Syria at the moment, and then the bitter orange that we were looking at in Lebanon. So neroli oil comes from bitter orange, and so there are these 2 kind of pillars, if you like, of that fragrance.